Hello everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. And as usual, I'll start with a couple of announcements. First of all, we have 2 or 3 things coming up that I think you want to know something about and take advantage of. And the first one is the Diet and Lifestyle Intervention course starts this fall. We offer it 3 times a year. We have some great package opportunities with diet and lifestyle and certification courses. And one of them includes the ability to take all 13 cert courses. You end up getting like about a third to half of them free if you take advantage of this package offer. And it expires next Monday. So you definitely want to get in touch with me if you're thinking that you might want to take some of our cert courses like Forming and Maintaining Optimal Habits, Autism, Men's Health, Women's Health, Weight Loss, Children's Health, GI disorders, and etc., etc. We have a lot of them. They're really good, and they prepare you to either know a lot about health if you're a consumer or be able to help people with their health if you are a provider of any type. Second thing, psychiatric drug withdrawal is going to start October 3rd. Why and how to withdraw from psychiatric drugs. Got a lot of people who know how to put people on the drugs, not so many who know how to take people off the drugs. We did a conference call last week. You can still listen to the recording if you would like to. So we did record it so that people who didn't find out about it in time or weren't able to join us would be able to listen to it. So that's one option to find out more. Or you can just send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. We can set up a time to talk about it. But this is for doctors, clergy, psychologists, social workers, family members, people who are taking the drugs, who need to know what these drugs do, alternative ways of dealing with these issues, and how to get off of them. And then I mentioned autism as one of our online courses. I am going to teach it live in September, so if you really want to participate in the live version, this is the time to make sure that you're enrolled for that particular course. So obviously I could talk about this for a long time, but I want to get to today's topic. So send me an email, pampopper@msn.com. If you have aspirations of doing something with diet and lifestyle medicine or healthcare or consulting or advising or nutritional counseling, you and I should probably set up a time to talk and see how we can help you. All right, so last week I got an email from somebody who said, Pam, you should smile more during video clips. And of course, sometimes I talk about topics like hurting little children. I don't know that I can smile through those kinds of video clips. That would be pretty ridiculous. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just do a funny video clip and then we can all smile and it would be appropriate. And you can see funny and smiling and happy Dr. Pam, all right? So this particular article or video clip started with an article I read written by Dr. John Mandrola. And you've heard me quote him before. He's a medical doctor who seems to be applying common sense to medicine, which is sorely lacking. And he writes about a lot of the same types of things that I write about. He doesn't go into some of the areas of psych drugs and musculoskeletal health, but he talks about medicine and how misdirected it's become and how much time and money we waste. And so he wrote an article about the growing volume of nonsense and noise in medical journals. And he says it distracts doctors from the things they should be paying attention to. He says that competition for page views and clicks, along with what he calls observational nonsense, drowns out good studies, and that bad studies waste precious research dollars. And it'll get funnier as we go on, but his article starts with a citation of nutrition studies. He says they've shown almost all foods and ingredients cause cancer. Everything you put in your mouth. He said the problem is that most of these studies have involved a single food or ingredient. The effects largely disappear in meta-analyses, and he says this is because there is no single food or ingredient or nutrient that causes heart disease or cancer, but it doesn't stop people from getting all excited about the latest study on quinoa or blueberries. So obviously, being excited about single foods and nutrients is not where we want to go. Some studies are just useless. For example, a recent study in The Lancet showed that living in an area with heavy traffic increased the risk of dementia. Well, Mandrola says common sense dictates that there's probably more to the story than that. And furthermore, people who probably have a choice about where they want to live are not picking highways as a place where they want to go live. So a lot of people are ending up in these types of locations by default, so I'm not sure drawing attention to the fact that their living circumstances aren't really marvelous is a great idea. Yet another study showed that the Boston Marathon resulted in response times that were 4.4 minutes longer for hospitals, and this increased in-hospital mortality rates for acute myocardial infarction by 3.3%, as compared to hospitals that were not affected by street closings due to the marathon. The study was poorly designed with historical control groups, no randomization, and considerable likelihood of confounding factors that completely negate the results. In addition to the fact that the results are unreliable, the real issue is how many people are actually shocked to find out that slower response times can worsen health outcomes. Like, we didn't know that before. It's good that somebody did a study on it. Why do we spend money on this? Another example of wasting money on things that we already know is marijuana studies, which, now I hope you're sitting down when I tell you this, show that regular and heavy users think more slowly and eat more snacks. Now, I'm so glad we have medical journal articles to show this to people, because other than them, we would not know, right? Mandrola is not the only doctor who's concerned about this. You know, Dr. Neil Barnard and the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine have worked very hard to end the use of animals in research. And one of the times that I heard Dr. Barnard speak about this, he said that studies on how alcohol abuse affects animals, I mean, think about how meaningless this is. Chimpanzees in the wild do not go to the liquor store and buy alcohol. They do not skip meals because they spent too much time at the bar for happy hour. I mean, we just don't learn much about alcohol consumption by testing animals. And by the way, is anybody watching this kind of uncertain as to the effects of alcohol if you keep drinking enough of it or you abuse it? I mean, we're pretty sure about this kind of thing. So I don't think that we need to torture animals in order to get more information. Lance Dodds is also frustrated. He's a medical doctor and a psychiatrist, and in his field, he talks about how valuable research dollars are being spent to find out things about substance abuse, for example, and compulsive gambling and consequences that we really don't need to research. So, for example, an analysis of over 1,000 surveys showed that the use of drugs like heroin and morphine increases the likelihood of using other drugs. Now, that's surprising. Being depressed and anxious and having a lower quality of life. Now, here we were all thinking that heroin addicts had a really great quality of life, and now we're shocked to find out they don't. Data from over 2,400 high school students showed that pathological gambling was associated with poor academic performance and depression. And here we thought that compulsive gamblers were doing great in school. A study showed that when music that includes references to alcohol is played in bars, people drink more. Good to know. And a study showed that compulsive gambling causes psychosocial stress. I guess I would imagine that is the truth. It never ends. The National Institutes of Health funded a study here at Ohio State University that involved giving amphetamines to cats infected with HIV. I'm sure this was because we don't know whether or not taking amphetamines while you have HIV infection is okay or not okay to do. The study involved almost 1,000 cats, and it's unspeakable to me that we inflict this type of cruelty on animals, but particularly when the findings are going to be virtually useless. What are we going to do with information like this? So I'll finish with some really good humor. Time magazine published a list of the 10 most ridiculous scientific studies, and some of them included, I hope you're sitting down again, electric fans are beneficial during extreme heat and humidity. That was in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Don't you wonder about the people who said, let's apply for a grant to look at whether or not electric fans help when it's really hot outside, because we don't know the answer to that. Wouldn't you love to be the funding committee that says, how amazing, let's invest research dollars on that. Here's another one. People who are depressed often fail to decrease sadness. Didn't know that. Quitting smoking after a heart attack decreases chest pain. Here's one. It was actually in a psychology journal. Older workers bring more knowledge to the job. Being homeless is bad for health. Middle-aged patients with heart disease need special care. And then there was the headline that read, scientists discover a difference between the sexes. Good to know. Can't wait to read that one. A Google search resulted in some sites reporting silly studies that included a study looking at the effects of wearing wet underwear in cold weather. It's not a good idea. The effects of beer, garlic, and sour cream on the appetite of leeches. They do not like these foods, in case you were wondering. And a study performed at Cornell University that concluded that people who have difficulty recognizing their own incompetence have inflated views of themselves. Again, published in a psychology journal. Last but not least, the Scottish Medical Journal published a study called The Collapse of Toilets in Glasgow, and that was in a medical journal too. In all seriousness, and now back to Dr. Mandrola, he calls on medical journals to be more selective in the articles accepted for publication and to weed out weak papers with useless findings. He also thinks that press releases should contain more factual information and less hype. And it reminds everyone that correlation is not the same as causation. And so while this is funny, it is funny, some of these things are funny, the part that's sad is that, first of all, we're wasting enormous amounts of money. I mean, I can think of 25 things I think we should spend research dollars on, and not one of them would involve seeing if compulsive gambling worsens academic performance. I think we'll just call that, we know what it is, you know. So, I don't know, maybe if we keep drawing attention to this type of thing, some of these funding agencies and researchers will just be embarrassed into not doing it anymore. So, I think sometimes it's good to take a walk on the light side. That's what we're doing today, and we'll be back to regular serious programming on Thursday. I probably won't smile so much for the person that asked me to smile. But for today, we'll have a good chuckle together. That's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.